Good morning, everyone. This is Leslie Likens with CXPA, and we'd like to welcome you to our monthly Google Plus Hangout with our CX experts. We are very excited today. Our topic is the future of customer experience, and we're really going to center around a presentation that Bruce Temkin provided at our recent CXPA Insight Exchange in San Diego, California earlier this month. We're going to talk about the future of customer experience, the 5 trends that we see, definition of customer experience, and as you can see, we have a really fantastic panel for you today. We have quite a few of our experts joining in, but I wanted to quickly go through and introduce them to you. We have Andrew McInnes. We have Bruce Temkin.
Hello.
We have Diane Magers. We have Erich Dietz. We have Rembach. And we have John Carroll, all coming together today to discuss the future of customer experience. So we have a lot on our plate. Everyone, are you ready to begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's start off. So Bruce, you gave a presentation at the Insight Exchange, and at the beginning of the presentation, you asked, what is customer experience? And you offered 3 things that built customer experience. Do you remember what those are? Or do you want me to go ahead and give them to you?
Oh, I think I can remember. I'll give it a shot. Success, effort, and emotion. And it's interesting because to talk about the future of customer experience, I almost went back to what I think is a core definition, right? People have different words, but success is, if you think about a customer, they perceive an experience in 3 dimensions. Success, are they able to do the thing that they want? Effort, how easy or hard it is, and then emotion, how they feel about the experience. And the reason why I bring that up in the discussion around the future of customer experience is that if you look at where people are, and I love John Carroll's he's got his John Carroll the third on the whiteboard behind him. It's a pretty cool video. That's awesome. But back to, so we have success, effort, and emotion, but most companies, if you look at what they really do, they only focus on one element, success. So part of the discussion that I want to have with the broader community is how do we get everyone to look at those other components, effort and emotion, because how are we ever going to be great at customer experience if we're only looking at a third of what customers perceive?
So let's take that question out to all of you. Thoughts? Anyone want to kick us off? Is that Andrew?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thought I was speaking there for a second. Yeah, no, I think it's a great framework. What I like about it a lot, relating it to where I spend most of my time practically, is it gives us a very clear framework to actually measure whether we're delivering the kinds of experiences that we want to deliver for our brands. Most of the things that we've used historically, and I'd say still use in most companies to do that, is really about they're really about the outcomes, either the intermediary outcomes or the business outcomes that are related to customer experience, and we have a belief that CX is the thing that's primarily driving those outcomes, and that's probably true. But the framework that Bruce just gave us gives us a much clearer view of the experience itself. So, I mean, not meaning to toot your horn there, Bruce, but that's my initial reaction to that whole concept of breaking down the experience into those three subcomponents.
Anyone else with thoughts for this definition of customer experience, or anything else that you would add to it or emphasize?
The one thing I'll chime in with is just the concept of expectations. So, you know, the emotion a customer is going to have around an experience is also a lot of times going to be governed based on what type of expectations they had going into that experience. You know, same thing with success. What kind of expectations were they given around their level of effort or success? So I think one common theme throughout those, and I fully believe Bruce had that integrated into his thought process, is what are brands doing, or what should they be doing to set proper expectations to then set the stage for downstream success from, and positive emotion and easy interaction. So just, again, that concept of expectations, I think, needs to be accounted for as well.
Yeah, totally. Just to add one quick thing to that. Sorry to talk again immediately, but the one element of that three-parter that I think expectations have an enormous impact on is the easy element. I think about companies like a company we work with, Activision, right, that makes Call of Duty, one of the biggest video games out there. That game's pretty hard, and yeah, there you go. That game's pretty hard, right? And that's part of the experience. You're supposed to give people challenges. You're supposed to make things difficult for them. But when you call in to Activision with a problem or something like that, that should be easy, right? So that's just a very specific example of that whole concept of expectations coming to life. Some things are actually better because they're hard, but the things that are supposed to be easy, the things that are maybe functional in nature and help you get at those more desired elements of the experience should be easy.
Yeah, I would agree that putting out that experience and those types of measures, what I find a lot of companies doing is they have the arrow that's kind of targeted at those three things, finding the emotion and ease and what's customer success, but they don't really paint the target, right? They don't have an intended experience in mind, and so they're just kind of always being reactive to those things and trying to measure them and figure out what the customer's doing. They're not actually setting that goal and defining that intended experience and how they're going to provide that, right? So that we have those three things all come into play, but I think what a lot of companies don't have is, again, that target of where they're headed and what they want that experience to be. And it's hard to define, but I think very beneficial if you can, because then everybody's kind of marching toward that same goal.
And I'd build on that and just say, when you don't have the design, you don't have really the ability to be consistent. So without that design in place, consistency becomes impossible as you look at events going across time, across channels, across customer segments, and that leads just to really not being able to reinforce all of these experience, essentially to build your brand through experience.
Yeah, I want to kick in because I love some of the discussion going on here. One of them, the idea of expectations that Erich brought out is really cool, because one of the things that we found in terms of measuring against those three things is that this is the first year in the 5 years we've been measuring that consumers are rating brands lower than they ever rated them before. It dropped, and I think that's totally because of expectations of consumers are rising faster than the ability of companies to actually deliver on those expectations. So we have this odd thing going on, right? We've some companies, like whether they're Amazon or other leading companies, USAA, they establish a set of expectations with consumers, and by and large, companies aren't living up to that. So I think expectations are great, and then back to what John said, I think the notion of deliberate design, right? A lot of the CX professionals, we spend our time just fixing problems, and so we end up with this patchwork of experiences, right? We fix one problem after another and fix this and fix that, and we don't step back and I think have a deliberate type of design, the intended design that we want our customers to have. So I think both of those things play really well into where we need to head.
Let's take those 5 trends, Bruce, that you brought up at the Insight Exchange, and kind of go through those as far as the future customer experience. And the 5 trends that Bruce spoke to are anticipatory experiences, mobile first, value as a service, continuous insights, and power of culture. Do you want to elaborate to those, Bruce?
Yeah, I'll spend a little bit of time. I won't spend a lot because I want to hear what the other experts have to think about it. But what we did is, we look at trends all the time, and we started to step back and said, there's probably a set of uber trends, right, that represent behavior changes in human beings and consumers at large that are going to be reflected in what CX professionals need to do. So anticipatory experiences are the ability of companies to think about the journey that a customer is on and help them get to the next steps in their journey, not just deal with the interaction at hand. Mobile first is a notion. We all know that mobile is growing, but moving from a world where we actually plug in mobile capabilities into our existing business and really rethinking our business where our customers are going to think of their mobile application as the front door, the mobile device is the front door into their relationship with us. Value as a service is looking at a trend that we all see, Uber, Airbnb, even apps, where people are buying little pieces of what they need when they need it. And other people are providing it. And I think value as a service is the notion that we're no longer going to be selling these big ticket items, whether it's software or cars or whatever your business is. We're going to be more about selling the pieces of value that people need when they need it. So it's going to require all of us to earn the loyalty of our customer in an ongoing basis, and to actually make sure that they are getting value from what they purchased, not just focusing on the next purchase. Continuous insights is the notion that today a lot of our business processes are built on periodically doing some research on customers and periodically reporting out on it, but our businesses operate continuously, and now we have the technology and capability to fuel our ongoing business with insights about customers in an ongoing basis. And then finally, the power of culture. I think, one of the things that we're seeing is certainly in the work that we're doing with companies is there's been a shift in the last year to large organizations, especially understanding that they won't be successful in customer experience long term if they don't create a culture that reinforces that focus and moves it ahead. So those are the 5 mega trends that we sort of presented at the event.
Thanks, Bruce. So thoughts on these trends that Bruce has presented. Jim Rembach, how about you? You've been rather quiet today. Can we pull you in?
Sure, I appreciate that. I mean, I think these trends are it's truthful. Altitude is hard. That it was spot on. I mean, we knew that Bruce is an excellent, and he's an instigator. He has been today as well as in general. So for me, though, I think it's awesome talking about to really take it to the next level. So we can start talking about what is it for us, and that's what's the differentiation. But I had the opportunity to someone recently
I think we're losing you.
Book called Driven.
We're losing your audio. Can anybody else hear him clearly?
Audio is
No, I'm having a hard time also.
All right, hold on, Jim. We'll come back to you. Let me
right.
move over to Andrew.
Try to reset.
Yep. Hey, Andrew, you want to kick on the 5 trends and anything that struck you as being more critical?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. So, yeah, a couple of things come to mind. I mean, first of all, I think that those 5 trends are, clearly, true, and we see them all the time. So, right on there. A couple of things that come to mind. One is just how connected some of these things are. So if you think about mobile first, if you think about anticipatory experiences, if you think about continuous insights, which I think could have 2 components. One is how the company is continuously using data to get insight and making that a continuous kind of process. And then the other is how they're actually delivering that back to customers as an element of what they offer. I think healthcare is a prime example of that. If you think about some of those things, the connections between some of those things, a lot of it is maybe not initially designed, but certainly enabled on an ongoing basis by data. And whether we call it big data or we call it connected data, which is another term I've heard recently that I kind of like. That's going to be really the fuel that makes a lot of these things possible. Again, anticipatory experiences that take into account mobile, I think is a good example of that, or a good place to think about that. And to me, that means a couple of things. It means if we shift the topic from customer experience as like things that customers will experience, things we'll experience when we go buy stuff from companies and so on, to the discipline of customer experience, what we all do professionally. Understanding of data and how to use data intelligently, I think, is going to be it's already an important part, but it will be an increasingly important part of this job. much as it has become for marketers, for example, recently. So I think that's, if you're going to beef up on some skills as a CX professional, I would think that's a huge place to start. The other, got a thumbs up, good. The other thing I think about too, and maybe someone else can weigh in on this, if you think this is relevant, is as we think about anticipatory experiences, mobile first, etc., requires a higher degree of orchestration at the corporate level, which makes CX professionals all the more relevant and important, I think, which is good for all of us. But also, I think it really blurs the lines, and again, I think this is good. It blurs the lines between CX and regular business functions like sales, marketing, and service. And I think that's a really interesting place for us to be, and kind of requires us to keep a real eye on the traditional functions in a business that we're enabling to do things better, right? So those are the two main things that come out of that, for me at least.
I'll add on to what he was saying about how important we're becoming to the organization, because I think the things that we've been working on for several years are now on the top of the list for executives, and those are things like purpose and agility and collaboration. As customer expectations in the markets move so much quicker and technology, it's hard to keep up. And so CEOs are looking for these skill sets that we've been embedding and teaching employees kind of all along, how to use information better, how to work better together across that customer journey, how to make decisions quicker and move quicker. So I think we're, as Andrew said very aptly, well positioned to play that much bigger role in helping the organization to achieve those goals, which we didn't really set out to do, but naturally, as we center around the customer and teach some of the things that we know the organization needs, it comes along.
Diane, I think we lost you.
Yeah, I've got something to add here, and it's a little bit just actually a call out to the experts on what I see as a paradox between some of the trends, Bruce, that you brought up, particularly, and then also the big three. So around the whole ease front, and then also around the anticipatory experiences, there's a paradox, because I think sometimes we find, and at least with our clients and in research, that lots of times when things go wrong and we do them right, we're able to actually create even more behavioral loyalty and better business results. In other words, if we make things so easy, we almost kind of ease our way out of the minds and hearts of our clients' customers in some cases. Along the same sense, anticipatory experiences, I really liked, Bruce, what you said about helping people to get to the next step in the customer journey. But I could almost connect with that ease front and say, are we at risk sometimes of streamlining things so much that we don't actually take time? And you could probably put this on a bigger scale, take time in life to actually connect. And then last comment I'll say is maybe that's why when Diane talked about design being so important, you really got to go back to your design pages. Bless you, whoever that was. You've got to go back to your design pages and find where you're going to design in moments that you're going to take time. Actually not make it too easy, not make it too anticipatory. Actually relish that moment with your customer. So I want to throw that out there, particularly the paradox of making things too easy, too anticipatory, and does that mean that we need to design in the moments where we actually don't rush things, don't make it too easy for people?
That's a good point. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm going to make sure you can hear me okay. That's part of what I was trying to bring up before I was cutting out, is I had the opportunity to interview somebody who just wrote a book called Prevention of Destruction at Work, and he's a doctor, Ned Hollowell. And he said, this is his quote, "We live in a paradoxical world where we're super connected electronically but under-connected interpersonally." And John, it's what you're saying is that while companies are saying we need to be more agile, we need to move faster, there's a real risk of not going enough, and those anticipatory experiences become superficial anticipatory experiences. So if we repeat those same fundamentals Bruce was talking about, we're only focusing on success and not hitting those other points, it's really going to have
you're
a
harder.
negative effect on.
Jim, I think we lost you again. We still there?
I did finish as far as I thought was concerned. Maybe hopefully I wasn't breaking up.
We got part of it. We got part of the thought.
Can
Only this were easier.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about it's an interesting paradox that that John talks about, and to me, the paradox is about that balance between the success, effort, and emotion, right? Any time that you overly focus on any one of them, I think you get out of balance, right? And I think what you were talking about is overly focusing on the effort piece, right? Yep. And I think the same problem if you over-focused on the emotion piece, right? You could say, all right, we're gonna do stuff to get emotionally connected, then it's so hard that it's like doesn't work, right? And so I buy it. I think that it's about, what they say sometimes, life is about balance, right? And I think when we talk about the experience, we have to think about balance across all the elements that our customers are perceiving. So I think that was a good point.
Yeah, so maybe it's taking those three and then putting them across the journey that will really help, so people get a sense of, okay, where am I putting tension on one of the three between success, effort, and emotion, and be willing to go out of balance in certain phases, but know that overarching throughout the journey that you're going to need to maintain an overall balance.
Yeah, and I think that the great notion of, we talk about journeys, right? That at the end of the day, the customer's going to look back and think about a collection of things, and we've had some discussions about what they remember and how they remember and all of that, which is good for another hangout maybe. But they're going to perceive of a collection of things that we did in a way. And so even if we overly focus on those three things at the wrong moments of time and the wrong elements, that's probably not the right thing. So we have to think about how our customers are going to perceive that entire journey with us.
We may be in a bit of a paradox again. I'll bring up that word, because as we move more towards self-service channels and making things easier, people can use that mobile device, we're actually losing some of that connectedness with the customer, the ability to have those conversations, as even salespeople get phased out of the process and support calls get reduced, right? We don't have the ability to understand those emotions or create those relationships. It becomes more about that. So I get a little concerned that we're going to lose the ability to understand those emotions just as we begin to move toward those other two. So again, that sense of balance, but I think it'll be important for us as a profession to find ways to understand where opportunity, as Jack said, to really relish what we do have and what we do understand, and build different ways to collect that information.
Okay, I want to jump in here as our time is rapidly coming to an end, but I wanted to mention that part of Bruce's presentation at the Insight Exchange involves some work for all of our attendees where we broke our tables up and Bruce asked them to take one of those 5 trends and dive deeper into it and talk about ideas that they had to help, I guess, move the needle forward on that particular trend. And their ideas, their comments that they submitted live there from the Insight Exchange are all part of a package. And I can show you, this is how it was broken down. Those numbers are the tables at our event and how many tables chose to address each of those 5 trends. And then there's a lot of information within this document that Bruce put together that came from those attendees at the Insight Exchange as far as ideas that they had around those trends. And if you are a CXPA member, all of that information is available to you on the community.cxpa.org site, along with Bruce's presentation slides. So we'll post that link here with the video on the Google Plus page, as well as the YouTube page if you're watching us on YouTube today. Now, to close this out, I want to go through to each one of you, and I want your short snippet. This is our fast, Jim likes to call it, what do you call it, Jim, on your podcast? Our fast approach, quick answers, very small, short sound bites. But what does the future of customer experience look like to you? Where are you most focused, most centered when you're thinking down the road? And we're going to start with Andrew and just go right down the row. So Andrew, not to put you on the spot.
Well, two put me on the spot, I think, and that's okay. So if I'm thinking about the future of CX as a discipline, something that people do professionally, my one word would be something I referenced before. My one word would be orchestration as a goal for customer experience professionals and the role that they play in companies.
All right, Bruce.
I almost didn't unmute there. I would say it's about understanding people. People, what drives human beings and customers to perceive of your brand and your company, and what drives people who are employees to do the things that they do. And really understanding the human side of it is going to be a really important part, especially to counterbalance all of the heavy data, left brain stuff that's going on.
Diane.
Off mute, sorry about that. I would say the same thing, Bruce. Employees and partners and vendors as customers, right? Expanding that ecosystem of how we think about it. And I also think we're going to move more from experience and creating those experiences to truly understanding what it takes to engage. So understanding that emotional component and really engaging customers to at a deeper level.
Erich?
Yeah, I mean, from a CX professional standpoint, it's just to build on Bruce and Andrew, and that it's that influence. CX professionals, it's still pretty much an immature industry, so how do we influence and embed a culture of customer experience in these broader organizations? I think that's one of the first things we as a broader CX community have to be better at.
Tim.
Can you hear me okay? Am I breaking up?
A little bit.
A little bit. Oh, I think the future has two things. It's an emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is going to be a component, and then that is actually going to be have an impact on what I call CX neuroscience. We're going to get more into the science of the engagement. We have to improve those skills in order to do what Erich was talking about, influence both internally and externally.
Okay, you kind of dropped out there, but I got emotional intelligence and going into kind of a science behind behavior and emotional intelligence.
CX neuroscience. Yeah, the C neuroscience.
The neuroscience. Okay. We got it. We got a little bit there. All right, I'm moving on to John.
Yeah, I actually don't know what the question is, but I do know what the answer is. And it's my Apple Watch, which is awesome. And anybody who says it isn't is wrong, because it's totally cool. And to wrap it up, it connected the ease. I just went to Walgreens, one of our clients, Erich, you remember them. And I went there and I pressed my little button and I did my Apple Pay, and the person at the register had time to talk to me and, like, you know, talked about my health and all that kind of stuff. So there is, you know, these awesome wearable technologies and technology in general can help us out as CE designers and practitioners, facilitating the ease, which then allows the emotion and the success. So, you know, bottom line though is these things are awesome. Don't let anybody tell you that they're not. You got to go get one. They're the best thing on planet Earth. Way better than Google Glass. That's it.
I thought you were going to tell us that you just went down to Walgreens and got your Apple Watch, and I was going to say, hey, that's really easy. I'll head down right now.
Do not go to Walgreens and try to buy the Apple Watch. No. You can get Pokemon cards there, though.
Well, I would like to thank all of you today for joining us. And to all of you out there that are watching us, please feel free, you know, at any time to bring your questions to these Google Plus Hangouts. We're anxious to hear from the audience that's out there. You can always tweet using the hashtag CXPA Hangout, or you can post your questions to our Google Plus page as well, and we will bring those to our experts. Again, if you are a CXPA member, all of the information that we talked about today is available at community.cxpa.org. We encourage you to join us next month on the last Wednesday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern Time as we talk about metrics, measurement, and ROI with more of our CX experts. Thanks to all of you for joining us today, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.